Hello and greetings. It's your instructor, Mr. Fowler, here with you once again for another college study skills session, number 25. First and foremost, let me say happy Veterans Day to all of you. Although you may not necessarily be watching this on Veterans Day, I did want to make sure that I did a little bit of a makeup for earlier this week. So for Monday's session, I had everything ready to go, but when I was selecting the options on the announcement tab, I made an error and I clicked the wrong day. So this Monday session didn't actually upload to Tuesday. So you might be thinking, wait, did I make a mistake? Are we actually on Tuesday, Thursdays? No, you're fine. You're the one that's logical. Mr. Fowler is the one that made a mistake. It's pretty easy to do when you're in the process, an easy mistake to make. But it showed up at 9:30 on Tuesday, which probably didn't help many of you who were waiting to see it on Monday. In any event, it should have been uploaded by Tuesday, so you hopefully got a chance to look at that particular video lecture. So that's one of my starting announcements for today's session. Announcement number 2 deals with the quiz. I know that I wrote down, please finish quiz 6, but I actually meant to have you finish quiz 5 because a number of you had not completed said quiz yet. And rather than overburden everybody with another quiz that they're expected to complete by this Friday, I think it's probably for the best that those of you who have not yet attended to quiz number 5 over chapter 11 do so. Before that gets too much longer in the tooth. We talked about, chapter 11, I think before Halloween. So going back to like 4 weeks, maybe at this point. So make sure that you have done that. Attend to quiz 5. Quiz 6, for those of you who are chomping at the bit to get to that content from chapters 12 through 14, will be up next week then. So I'll give you a writing lab, but I'll also give you some time to complete the quiz. So that will be available for you Monday, those of you who are looking for quiz number 6. Quiz number 7 will be over chapter 15, and we'll probably assign that the last week of the class because you'll be busy with other topics until that point in time. Speaking of which, today we have 3 different things that I need to talk to you about. The first, of course, is in terms of our preview/review. So for our preview today, I want to preview a reflection essay sample. I want to then discuss some pre-writing activities with you and get you all primed for next week's writing labs. To start us off, though, we should review a little bit. And to that end, I'm going to share with you the reflection essay from last time, just so you're all aware of what it is we're talking about in case you missed the last session, or you just wanted to fast forward to this one. Okay, so we talked about this last time, the course reflection assignment. It's going to be about 10% of your grade, roughly, averaging 300 words, which is about a page and a half. Now, you can always write more than 300 words, and in our example for today, you'll see that particular student wrote a little bit more than 300 words. That's okay. Because I'm introducing this project today and we're doing our writing lab, I want to bring up once again the fact that upon review, I may have been a little bit too overzealous with the rapidity of the schedule. And you might be thinking, yeah, there's a lot to do, Mr. Fowler. Conversely, there are those of you who are probably thinking, well, I suppose there was a lot to do, but I always got to it. It didn't seem to be too overwhelming. There's probably no perfect measure, but for my money, I think I went a little too quickly. So in preparation for future courses, I'll go back and rethink about the pacing on some of these assignments. But because I listed in the original syllabus, which is kind of a form of a contract, that this assignment was not going to be due until Thursday, December 3rd, I will allow you to work until that day. But if you feel that you have additional time to attend to this assignment, or that this assignment isn't particularly challenging and you just like to get it out of the way so you can focus on some of your other classwork as we move into the final weeks of the semester, you have that option too. So it's due on or before December 3rd. It'll be weighted at about 25 points. And like I said, it will tally in at about 300 words, or roughly a page and a half. Standard format for the MLA style system, no sources required here. And as for the description, you're going to write a reflection letter thinking about how your time in the class was spent. And I would like you to specifically drill down and emphasize 3 specific elements. I say specifically enough? I don't know. First, I want you to describe how you earned your current grade. And to do that, you may need to access the grade book to make sure that everything is primed and ready to go for that material. Then summarize why you earned the grade that you did briefly. For the second paragraph, address some of the ideas that you brought up in your self-assessment essay. So go back, and that's part of your assessment for this evening, or rather this rest of the week. Go back and reread the final draft of your self-assessment essay. What challenges did you actually face throughout this semester as opposed to the ones you identified in that document? Were the strategies that you used effective, or did you pick up some new and interesting strategies from our textbook, College Success Strategies, along the way? I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. And then for your final or third paragraph, reflect on some of these new strategies that the text introduced. Were there anything that you were introduced in this book that you were actually able to use throughout this semester? What, if any, of the ideas in this class were particularly interesting, even if you didn't necessarily get to use them? Now, if they weren't really compelling ideas and you didn't actually use any of the skills, or the skills and ideas that were suggested were already well known by you as a student at this point in the semester, imagine instead, as an alternative, that you were an editor on the textbook. What do you think you would include that students should know about? What would be a valuable skill that you learned through practical experience that needs to be added or updated to our current text? The purpose, again, of the essay is to reflect on the hard work that you've engaged in all semester long and prepare you to use these same skills and to more readily apply the concepts that you've mastered throughout this course and during this course of this semester. Okay, now that shouldn't have taken up too much of our time, maybe 3 minutes or so. The point is that we're in the end game now, right? We do have quiz 6 and quiz 7 to attend to, but next week we're going to start the writing labs for this particular essay. And as is typical of a class where you're going to write an essay, I always feel that reading a student essay and kind of reflecting on the key points that student was able to make can be a valuable tool in terms of preparing yourselves, either mentally or just looking at a template that you can use to sort of think about the ways in which students have addressed these problems in the past or met the needs of a particular assignment or essay writing assignment, who were sitting in the same seats virtually that you are, or at least found themselves faced with the same tasks. So let's go ahead and do just that. I'm going to now share a different document with you. And this one's going to be the student sample. I'm going to exit the video though, so that hopefully things run a little bit more smoothly. Let's see here. Here it is, reflection sample. So you should still be able to hear my voice at this point. I'm actually going to stop share for a second and just test my audio. Let's see here. Test that. Hear the ringtone. Hello. Yeah, okay, we should be okay. All right, back to share. Reflection sample. All right. So as you can see, it begins with the typical format. You have student last name. You actually don't need that component. You can get rid of student. All you have to have is the page number in the upper right-hand corner. And then you have this 4-line lists, right? This 4-line list, right? 4 lines with your name, class name, in this case, English 111. You could also write college study skills, the name of the essay, or the assignment, and the date. As you can see, this was from the end of the 2018 semester, but the assignment hasn't changed drastically since the student wrote it. Then you should have a title, centered, neither bolded nor italicized, and not in quotation. Okay. So that's your title, a unique title. And this student's title is Reflections in a Study Guide. I think that's kind of a nice idea. Then he moves into the body of the essay itself. Now notice that, let's just look, 1, 2, 3, 4. He has 4 paragraphs. So you don't have to have 4 paragraphs, but you may want to write a formal introduction and conclusion in addition to tending to the paragraph distinctions I described in the assignment. That's actually a pretty good move to make. So let's take a look at what our student has to say here. College study skills has changed my perspective on how to look at my college experience. I did not know how to look at college and what I would have to go through in order to survive each semester and actually store the information in my head. Before this class, I was scared of making it in college because I did not do as well as I had wanted to in high school. In class, I remember reading about the concept of deep learning. Deep learning refers to a focus on the things that interest you. These are the kinds of concepts that you should dig deeper into and learn more about than just engage in the style of surface learning I had done previously. That really spoke to me to make a greater effort in each class. So again, we have an introductory that an introduction that sums up the purpose of writing. And as you can see right here, 587 words, a little excessive, but you may write as much as you need in order to address the questions. The first one, okay, was thinking back into your prior experience. How did the skills and suggestions that you had queued up in the self-assessment essay match up with this example? So he says, I came into this class, or I went into this class. We might want to change that to came into this class. I came into this class knowing nothing about college or how I was going to succeed. This class has shown me it does not have to be very complicated. If I find something that I have the slightest interest towards, I should pursue it. And again, that's harking back to some of the content that was described in motivation, how you relate to the course and how you find ways to make any course interesting. Surprisingly, he mentions that very chapter later, but not in the context you might expect. So be on the lookout for that. Finding interest in okay. If I find anything I have slightest interest toward, I should pursue it. There's the kind of thesis statement. Finding a small interest in researching it online taught me way more than any class has taught me. It made the process simple. I could sit down and do it without getting too distracted. I'm glad I discovered this technique of learning, as it gave me hope to finish college and have a better life. I have earned my grade because I was genuinely interested in the topics we were learning about. Okay, so there we go. If we click back just for a second. Okay, first describe how you earn the grade. Okay, boom. All right, so he's done that. For the second paragraph, he should address some ideas brought up in his self-assessment essay. We'll make that green. So let's go back and see what he did in the reflection sample. Okay. When I first started this class, my main goal was to get better at grammar, reading, and writing. Okay. What I faced in this class was not as boring as my past classes. And it got me thinking about the text we read, as several chapters piqued my interest and got me to think. It put me in the shoes of students interviewed and got me to think about challenges, think about the challenges they face compared to my own. One of the most interesting chapters I felt was chapter 3. The chapter focused on memory, providing the reader with two major theories about how memory worked. The section focused on the various ways a student can stretch his or her memory. Mnemonics, acronyms, imagery, method of loci were fascinating. Admittedly, I was already familiar with acronyms and imagery. Mnemonics has been useful, though. I created a fictional character in my mind, Amy G. Dalla, who was a superhero that could manipulate emotions. This helped me remember the purpose of the amygdala in the brain during my studies in anatomy and physiology course. Okay, mnemonics has been useful. That's actually, like, I'll put that in blue here, because that goes back and answers a question in the reflection essay rubric. Strategies that were that you actually use in a semester. So I'll put that in blue. The only thing that he seems to be lacking are some of the ideas he brought up in his self-assessment essay. He talks about a goal that he had, being able to improve his grammar and writing, but he never really develops that idea. So this is where I would want to see more information. Purposes of reflection. However, I would like to read more about how this changed or evolved over the course of the semester. Okay. If I could go back, I would probably try to be a little more mature going into this class and not stress over little things. I now know that this class helped me in many ways, including in opening my mind to all of the ideas presented. all of the ideas. While the chapters on what I believe motive and motivation on what I believe and motivation dragged a little bit. I was engaged most of the time. And that's the part that I was talking about. Even though he says that his attitude and emotions changed a little bit, he thought the actual chapters in the book dragged. So I'm not sure how to balance that. But it is his take on it. So we'll have to just, accept his reflection as it exists here. But that could be clarified a little bit. I actually wish my other classes had affected me in this way, as it's opened up my eyes to a whole new way of learning. That's great. Not everybody's going to have that experience, but this student did. In this class, from what I can see, I held pretty good grades and remained above a 90% for the majority of the class. Okay, excellent. I'm happy with how this semester ended and the work I put in, as it was very rewarding both personally and educationally. Okay, nice. And again, he was well within the word content, 588 words versus 300. And it was closer to 2 full pages. Mostly he would have rounded up here, but just, for the sake of study, if we include the title, okay, and we review how many words, that's about 441. Let's just take this and the title. Now we're that's about 296. So you can see this is about how long, right, it needs to be. Not quite 1 full page, a little bit more, but pretty far afield from 2 full pages as the student has here. So you'll have ample space to write a response of this caliber. I'll save that. Okay. So this draws another question into play. Now that we have a set of expectations to perform to, and we have a sample that we can refer to in practice, how do we get there? Like, what's the process to go from A to sample to product, where you're actually providing me with a resource? Well, I have a solution for you, okay? Or some ideas, maybe not a solution. But for those of you who have my English 104 class, these kinds of pre-writing activities can be very beneficial in helping you to generate an essay. And I'll also include a more traditional outline link in the Desire to Learn web space so that you can use that if you feel that's something that would be helpful. So as it says here, instructors often call these brainstorming techniques or pre-writing strategies. There are about 5 traditional uses for brainstorming: listing, clustering, free writing, looping, and the 6 journal questions. Listing is just what it sounds like. You generate a lot of information within a short amount of time by creating some broad ideas and building on those associations in more detail. This is particularly useful if you're starting your topic in a very broad way. Clustering or mind mapping, which is a technique that Holsuch and Nist-Oljelnik have referred to in the past, is a very helpful pre-writing strategy and as well as a studying strategy. And as it says here, it allows you to explore relationships between ideas visually, kind of cueing into this example. In terms of free writing, that's the easiest. That's where you just don't refer to any text or notes, but just write for about 5 to 10 minutes. and focusing on images or device that you've chosen, so that you can recall, based on the general ideas. That provides an initial list that can make up a body of evidence that you might use. Now, looping, okay? It's a little bit like mind mapping. It allows you to focus your ideas continually while trying to discover a writing topic. After you free write for the first time, you should identify a key idea or thought in your writing and then write again using that idea as your starting point. Write quickly, don't edit, and don't stop. You'll loop 5 to 10 minute free writing after another. So you have a sequence of free writing. So you loop 1, 5, 10 minutes, pause, loop 2, 5 to 10 minutes, okay? When you have 4 or 5 rounds of looping completed, you'll have a specific group of specific information that should dictate what it is you're thinking about in regard to this particular topic. You might even have the basis for an alternative thesis or improved idea for an approach to your assignment. And of course, lastly, you've got the 6 questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how does the subject relate to what topic you are writing about? Okay. Now, these strategies might not be for everyone. You may be able to write whole cloth, just jump right in and get typing away there. Not everybody has that capacity available to them. So if you find that you're struggling to begin the writing process next week when we're in the lab time, you may want to explore some of these very subjects to help you kickstart the process. So next Monday and Wednesday, we'll be hosting writing labs, which means I'm going to be available online during the time frame in which we are going to meet. However, I do want to remind you that I'm not available between 11 and 12:15 because I have an in-person synchronous class this semester also, and I have to be available and attend to some of their needs and concerns. So I may not be available in that specific bracket of time. However, mostly I should be A-okay. I don't anticipate any other disturbances or problems getting the information to you that I need to. That should be fine. Okay. Now, in summary, there are a couple things that we need to attend to. If you have not yet completed this week's discussion question or the week 10 discussion question, I would prioritize that. Secondly, I would prioritize quiz 5, complete quiz 5, so that that's done and out of the way and you're ready to move on to this week's content. Once that's done, next week, Monday and Wednesday, we're going to have writing labs where I'm available online and you can set up a conference. You can do that in advance or the day of, and I will Zoom with you and we'll try to do whatever we can to help ease your mind or help you achieve success with this final project or final essay project of the semester, the reflection essay. Well, our time is drawn to a close, to a conclusion, to a close, whichever. Our time is drawn to the end, or at least that's all the content I have for today. Once again, happy Veterans Day for those of you who have loved ones who served, or for those of you who may have served yourselves. We salute your efforts and we thank you for your service. That's it from Mr. Fowler. This is me signing off, asking you to remember to stay healthy, stay hungry, and keep that quest for knowledge alive. That's all for today. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I'll talk to you next week, folks. Bye-bye.